Alright, set 2. 3 less than 8 times a number is 37. What is the number? So first of all, less than is a turnaround word, and that means you need to do 8 times a number first. So I'm just going to say 8 times some number, I'm just going to let it be x, is less than 3. So less than 3. So um, when you write that, remember less than is a turnaround word and it means this needs to come before this. So 8x minus 3 is equal to 37, and we're solving for x. So the first thing we want to do is add 3 to both sides, and you're going to get 8x is equal to 40. If they multiply by 8 to get x, then we're going to do the inverse of that. It means divide both sides by 8. So x is equal to 5. Alright. On the recent test, Valerie answered 2 questions correctly for every 3 she missed. So 2 correct, 3 missed. How many total problems is that? 2 correct, 3 missed, so that's going to be 5 total. Okay, if the test has 80 questions total, that's how many questions did she answer correctly on the test. So this describes our ratio, like our relationship. She said for every 2 correct, she missed 3, which that means they gave us that percentage of total. So the corrects is 2 correct out of 5 total. That's what this gives us up here. 2 correct out of 5 total is equal to, so you set up proportions on these, is equal to, so if you do correct over total, then over here we need to do correct over total. So the correct is what we don't know, we'll let that be x. The total we do know because there's 80 total. Okay, so with proportions, the most important thing is that you have to keep it consistent. If you do correct over total, it has to be correct over total. So line them up, and then from this point, you cross multiply and solve. So 80 times 2 is 160 is equal to 5 times x, and then you solve for x, so divide both sides by 5, and 32 is equal to x. So what we did here is we got the relationship, the ratio of correct over total is equal to correct over total. And so the first portion of it, we were able to set that up. And the second portion, they give us one part and ask us the correct. So use proportions. All right, what is 20% over of 30? So first of all, um, there's usually a relationship if you have that is over of is equal to percent over 100. And if you're not very familiar with this, you should make yourself, because a lot of problems can be worked with that. But this particular one, because it's a select all that apply, we might not have to use that. We can recall that of is a keyword that means multiply. Okay, and anytime you have a percent, you can rewrite that as a decimal, right? So a percent just means multiplied by 100. So to change, if we write 20%, these are some things to keep in mind. 20% is the same thing as 0.20, right? Those are equivalent. And so this is saying 0.20 times 30. Well, that's definitely this one. Okay. And which, if we put that in our calculator, what will we get? 0.20 times 30 is equal to 6. So I can check this in one of two ways. I need to make sure it equals 6. So then this one's the same thing. This one's going to be 20 times 30, which is 600, divided by 100, which is still going to be 6. Same thing. This one's going to be 2000 divided by 30, which is approximately 66.6 with the bar over it. That is not 6. So not that one. And 20 divided by 0.3 is also 66.6 with the bar over it, which is not So our answers for this one is select all that apply is going to be the first one and the second one. So careful that you read these. And like I said, we didn't have to use this is over of equals percent over 100 in this particular problem. But when you see a question that uses is and of and percent, oftentimes you need to think of this because a lot of times we will use that. Now this one was a little bit easier, so we didn't really have to go there, but I do want you to kind of start processing that. Okay. All right, this next one just says, which of the following represents the relationship between x and y? So they give us a table with x and y values, and we can see that they're put on graphs in respect. Now, graphs are in order. This is always your x values here, and your y values are going up and down. But you can see they go from 0, 5, 10, 15. So they're in order. So it makes sense that I rewrite these as ordered pair, and I start with the smallest one. Order pair 2, 11. The next smallest one, start with your smaller x value, would be 5. So 5, comma 17. We're making ordered pairs out of these. The next smallest one is 6, 19. And then I'm going to have 8. Looks like 8, 23. Kind of hard to see these. And then 12, 31. Right, these are our ordered pairs in order, so we're going to try to find the graph that best has those. Let's just start with the first one. And this is x comma y. When the x value is 2, so if this is 5 right here, that means x value is 2, y value is 11. Check, that worked. Okay, my next one is 517. So when I arrow over to 5, I'm going to go up 17, and that's 15. So 16, 17, that looks like that's dead on for 517. Next point I'll check is 6, 19. So go over x value of 6. That put me at about 19, and it does. So it looks like our first one's going to be the one that matches. 8 is roughly like right here. Is that about 23? It is. And then check 12 to about 31, and it is. So it so happened that our first graph matched those ordered pairs. Now I would just do the same thing for the other ones if it didn't, and just until I found the graph that matched those. So we got lucky because we could see this first one's clearly not. Whenever I go over 2, did you go up 11? So if I went over 2, that's clearly not at 11, it's at 30 something. So you would just be able to eliminate, eliminate, so on and so forth. Okay. Howard wants to raise his pay to $168 a week. It currently makes $8 an hour. How many additional hours must he work per week? So this one you should be pretty good with because it's money. And just use your common sense here. To figure out how much you make a week, you need to know how many hours you work and multiply that by how much you make an hour. Well, we know how much he makes an hour, but they didn't tell us how many hours he worked, so there's no way we can know that without knowing the number of hours that he currently works. So here, we can't determine the information. Determine it with the given information. All right. Ben's garden has roses, tulips, and carnations in a ratio of 3:1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say roses, tulips, carnations in a ratio of 3:1. That's the ratio. He has a total of 72 flowers in his garden. How many roses are in his garden? This is also a proportion problem, kind of like the one we did not too many ago. But so first of all, roses, tulips, and carnation. First of all, how many are total did they give us in this relationship? So 3, 4, 5. There were 6 total. We're going to keep this in mind. Okay. Out of the ratio, because 3 plus 2 is 5 plus 1 is 6. So there's 6 total. It says if he has a total, that's the ratios, but he has a total of 72 flowers. How many are roses? So first of all, roses, if you have 3 roses out of 6 total, we got to figure out what's the relationship of roses. So there's 3 roses out of 6 total, which means half. That means the relationship says half of these are roses. Well, then if they tell us the total amount of flowers is 72, then all we need to know is half of that, or same thing as taking half is dividing by 2, and that'll tell us how many of them are roses, because we know that the relationship, the ratio, is that half are roses. Okay, so they say 72 total, half of that must be roses. Okay, this just looks like a solve an equation problem. 3x plus 12 is equal to 7x minus 16. Um, First thing you want to do is get all x's on the same side. So if this is 3x, I subtract 3x. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. So you want to line up all the x's. When you move it from one side of the equal sign to the other, you do the opposite sign. So that goes away. 12 is left. 7 minus 3 is 4. Keep the x. Okay, our goal is to get x by itself. If I want to get this by itself, I need to get rid of that 16. Well, if they subtract 16, we always do the inverse, add 16. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. Okay, so that they go away. And we're going to have 28 is equal to 4x. Goal is to get x by itself. What did they do to x? They multiplied by 4, so we do the inverse and divide both sides by 4. 7 is equal to x. So solving equations. All right. 260 miles between Santa Escula and Santa Novia. Mr. Lewis drives 40 miles per hour. Assuming he takes a direct route, how many hours does it take him to drive? So distance equals rate times time. The distance is 260 miles. The rate is 40 miles per hour. The time we don't know. That's what we want to know. We want to get time by itself. Divide both sides by 40. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. 260 divided by 40 is 6.5. 6.5 hours. Alright, Kathleen bought a new suit at 25% off the regular price of 100. So let's do that first. You take a suit, 400. Okay, then let's just finish reading this. So she had an additional coupon, which gave her an additional 15% off the sale price. What did she pay? So the first thing you have to do is get the sale price. So we have to do this original price times 25%. What do we say about 25%? It's the same thing as 0.25. So 25% of 400, when you put that in the calculator, is $100. Well, that's how much she got off. $100 off. So if you take the original 400 and you take the $100 off because it was on sale, the sale price was $300. Now they said an additional 15% off. So if I take the sale price and I do an additional 15%, remember we write that as 0.15, we find out that that is $45 off. Now that's from the sale price. Well, the sale price we calculated 300. We take that $45 off, and we find out that we paid $255, which is this option. So you can't do them all at the same time. So you have to do one, get the sale price, then take the additional 15% off. All right. Time A is 20 minutes longer than show C. What time does show A end? Well, the first thing we need to do is go figure out, well, what is C. So from 11 to 11:20, this one's 20 minutes. Well, A is 20 minutes longer than C. So that means it's going to be 40 minutes. So what's 40 minutes after 9:30? Okay, it's going to be 10:10, which is here. Okay, that one's not too bad.